Advantage Plus Shopping is one of the ones right now that is very, very similar to Google Performance Max. Our media buyers have tried it with various levels of success. What they did say is that we're probably not putting in enough creative. Like the ones where we put in more creative, not 10 to 20 creative, but 50 to 70 creatives. All right, so we're back talking about the Brand Building Summit. I was just in New York. By the way, I was in like the meatpacking Chelsea area of New York. I love that area of New York. I could live there.
Where is that? The meatpacking?
It's on the Hudson. It's like lower west side.
Okay,
Yeah.
Southwest, like just past Soho, and that's where the 9/11 memorial is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's right in there. It's got this thing, the High Line, where it's like an old.
Dude, the High Line blew my mind.
So cool.
So cool.
So freaking cool. I'll put some images from my walk to the Meta Summit. I walked to it through that thing. It's so cool. Yeah. I don't know. I just love the urban experience. So anyway, so the good location always helps. Really good food, that helps. Some pretty cool people I met there as well, which always helps. Couple of stats here. Bringing it back to Meta. Meta always performed, all right, we are an AI company. Yes, we've always been an AI company. Well, technically, really, sort of, kind of, they have. They've been using artificial intelligence and data in order to feed the algorithm. So that was like, I told our customer, I was like, the first 5 minutes, all about AI. Guarantee it. They actually didn't get into it until like the 6th minute. So I missed my bet by a minute or two. But anyway, point is these are some kind of amazing stats. And all from Meta. So take it with a grain of salt to a certain degree, but 59% of US adults watch digital video on non-TV devices.
Hold on, 59%.
59% of US adults watch digital video watch video on non-TV devices.
It's funny, that number feels low to me. I would have assumed it was in the 90s.
Really? Okay. And most of this is videos from creators, not celebrities.
Right.
All right. 3.8 billion monthly active users on Meta, which we said before. Incredible. Half the world. Probably you can't penetrate much more unless we go through a population boom, have more people occupy Mars.
We're going the other way, sadly. So
the demographics are definitely not in our favor. This is one that is a writer downer for you creative people out there who are struggling to win the battle of you versus media buyers. 70% of the potential return on investment for advertising on Meta comes from the creative. Now, I don't know how they measured it.
I'm full stop, Ralph. Now I want to fight someone. How on earth could that possibly be quantified? Who is the statistician who sold his or her soul signing off on that? How, dude? Come on now.
Yep. 70%, baby. There it is. Has nothing to do with your copywriting.
70% of nutrition comes from chewing. Like the digestive process is 70% chewing. It's like, dude, you can't do that. How could that possibly be attributed?
70% of your food comes from eating.
Oh my God. All right. I'm sorry. So 70% of what's the phrase again? 70% of the potential
return on investment in advertising on Meta comes from the creative. I might not have written it down exact. I'm trying to read my scribbly notes. Am I remarkable here? And this is a good one. All right. This one I believe, and this is another Meta study. 70% of shoppers discover new products on Meta technologies.
70% of shoppers.
70%
ostensibly
of shoppers.
That's 70% of Meta users who are shoppers, right? Not 70% of all shoppers.
I have no idea. But what they're trying to set the frame is that we're big and we're bad, and people buy stuff by watching video and by being on our platform. So you as an advertiser should spend more on Meta. This is how it kind of starts, right? So even if the results, the stats, the data are a little bit overstated or slightly inflated, the point is like if anyone listening to this show thinks that Meta is like irrelevant, think again. If your ads aren't working on Meta, it's probably because maybe you're not listening to the show enough, but you're probably approaching it in the right way. Or like we said before the break, your product sucks, and you shouldn't be on Meta just to begin with. You shouldn't be spending any money. You should be going back and working a corporate job instead of doing
running the ads to the real marketers.
And this comes from a guy whose first 3 businesses completely failed because all 3 products sucked, by the way. Just so you know, I'm not denigrating people who try and start businesses, but I had the good sense enough to move on, pivot, go for something that people actually wanted. We'll talk about that in some show. I'd rather not, by the way, maybe on a day where you feel more like a psychiatrist than co-host. All our failures. That would be fine. All right. So there. All right. Here's another stat. 303 million creators worldwide. Creators creating creator content. There's 303 million of them worldwide.
That's effectively the population of our country, isn't it? What are we at, 360 or something?
I thought it was like 600 something. I don't know. That's a quick Google search away. All right, you can Google that.
I mean, it's still the population of a country creating.
I can't.
What constitutes a creator? Like, if you post, are you a creator?
Good point. No real definition there. I was taking it as like a creator, somebody who is, and by the way, Meta does have a thing called the Creator Marketplace, which I don't think people really know about, which is a resource where you can find actual creators for your brand. So we'll leave some links in the show notes here.
Dude, yeah, that's there's 331 million people in the United States.
Really? I thought it'd be more, actually. All right. Well, stand corrected. Creator Marketplace. It's on Instagram. I'm sorry.
Introducing Creator Marketplace, where brands can discover creators to collaborate with. This was launched in July of 2022.
Yep. So I look at creators like the 303 million, or people like that who are actively trying to produce content. It's not like you go on Instagram and do a Kasim video. I don't look at that. Like, I guess that makes you a creator, but I think what we're talking about is like commercial creators, like people who are trying to make a living, or maybe as a side hustle to do creator content. So
that's the problem, dude. The methodology is so important here. Like, how are we defining creators?
True. But the point is
defining ROI potential. Like,
here's your takeaway.
Fancy words they're using, Ralph, and they're not.
Here's your takeaway. And I'm going to quote Byron Sharp here.
Okay.
Like, you don't have to measure everything exactly. The point is,
which I agree with, by the way.
Even if it's 100 million, that's still a lot, and that's 1/3 of Meta's perhaps BS number. But the point is like, there's a lot of, like, that's a lot of people. Like, think about your feed. Like, if you go through Instagram, it's like everything is like, it seems like it's creator content. And the thing is that it actually does. I mean, we see it ourselves. We have a 22-person team that just does creator content. It's all they do, and source it. So it's legit. I get it. Point is that's a big number. All right, here's another number for you. $26 billion in ad spend on creator content in 2022 on Meta. And it's expected to grow faster through 2025. So a lot of creators, a lot of spend. It's a trend. It's a thing. At what point does it get saturated? I don't know. Crappy creator content is ineffective creator content. So there's lots of crappy creators out there that look like just shills, salespeople, whatever it happens, to be in that particular case. Maybe the product isn't really that great. We've had some creator content that's been done for crappy products that just didn't sell because they had no actual differentiator in the marketplace. Those are products that maybe shouldn't be sold. You should probably have some sales actually before you start advertising and putting money behind it and hiring a creator to do stuff for you. So there are those stats. Here is another one. So going back into setting the frame here is that there are 200 billion Reels plays every single day on Meta. Reels. 200 billion plays. So this is all sort of building up to, if you're not doing creator content, if you're not doing this top of funnel brand, you can do it through creator content. You can do it through video. Although the case study that we're going to do here on the show shortly, our front end content wasn't video. It wasn't video that worked. It was image ads. But anyway, the point is 200 billion plays on Reels. Like Reels is a thing. If you're not advertising specifically on Reels, or at least selecting that as a placement, we sometimes do individual campaigns where it's all placements and then pull out Reels, and then we'll do Reels together. I think you can't separate it from Reels and Facebook stories. I forget what it is. There's buttons that you can't deselect, but you can do Reels only with, the counterpart in Facebook, because they're basically two things, but they're basically the same. It's the same video content. So the point is like, that's a real deal. And it's an inventory area where there is a lot of inventory. So keep in mind, we're talking about Google pushing inventory towards display for Performance Max. Meta is saying, go over here. There's a lot of inventory, dude.
Reels are Meta's display network, or the equivalent of. It's where they have the most inventory. And the interesting thing in that stat is the word play, because play means start, but it doesn't speak to elapsed time. And if you're scrolling through Reels, I could scroll through 50. I actually really be curious. How many Reels could you scroll through a second? 3 or 4? 5, 6, 7? Like,
I think an impression from, a video play is a 3-second video view.
Oh, so that was my question. Is a reel play 3 seconds, or is a reel play? Because when you hit a reel, it starts to play no matter how fast you scroll past it.
Technically it's a 15-second view, but a 3-second view is also measured on Meta.
But what does that stat speak to? The 200 billion?
I would say probably the 3-second play is my
that
guess.
Makes it way more integrous too. Like that's real, no pun intended.
They didn't. Good one. They didn't say. Light on specifics here. Of course, it's up to you, the Google guy, to rip
this
apart
is so
the
Orwellian, dude. They're just up there saying, slavery is freedom, war is peace. What's the last one?
All right, here's the best one. Of all. You're gonna love this. But my team was like, there was like a real, not another pun. There was a real time channel in Slack commenting on all this. And they're like, wow, this is the greatest stat ever. I'm like, I don't know if I really believe it. For every dollar spent on Meta, okay, they deliver $3.31 in return.
Yeah, Google has a similar stat. Theirs is 1 to 8. And I've always screamed horseshit.
1 to 8.
Swear to God. Yeah, I wonder if that's still published. God. For every dollar spent on Meta, it delivers a what return?
$3.31. So maybe over time, I could see that, yes. But that seems a little on the high side to me. That's why, like, the magic, whenever you ask like a new prospect, it's like, hey, what's your ROAS goal? Oh, 3x. Everything, it's always 3x. Always 3x. It's always 3x. Which I get why, because it cost of goods sold and SG&A and all these other sorts of things. But like, that's something needs to be slightly different. Are you showing a screen here? Oh.
Yeah. So if you're watching us at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube, here we are on, it's economicimpact.google. So their economic impact methodology. And to quote, therefore, we conservatively estimate that for every $1 a business spends on Google ads, they receive $8 in profit through Google search ads. Through Google search and ads. That's very important. I cannot begin to tell you how, dude, we know this is a lie. I'd never lose a client. I'd never lose one. If people got true 1 to 8, even over time,
1 to 8.
Nobody ever. I think Meta's 1 to 3 is actually conservative. I guess if it's an average, it's not. But
Well,
I
if you
think
get it, if you get it out of a 28-day attribution window and you do it infinite, possibly. So like the ad that you spent money on 7 months ago is now actually getting you a sale on an SMS, or an email somewhere, like entirely possible. But Meta stops unless you're doing offline conversions at a 28-day window, and you really can't even see inside of Ads Manager. You can't optimize for anything more than a 7-day attribution window or a 7-day optimization window. So, I mean, if you look at those metrics, 3 to 1, but over the long haul, yeah, I guess.
Sure.
Which, by the way, this is setting up the brand idea. Like they're trying to convince a skeptical performance audience of brand, saying, if you play the long game, you will get $3 out of your dollar spent. Does that make sense? I get what they're getting at, and it makes sense.
Here's the thing: is I really like. I agree with what they're saying. I like the idea of Meta is the brand performance network. I just hate the way they're going about it.
Why
it's very well. They're lying, Ralph. They're making numbers up.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
My friends at Meta would never do such a thing.
I forgot. There's Fahrenheit 451 over here.
That is so not true. They're skewing the data in their favor. That's what a good marketing company does.
Good statisticians do. Yeah. I guess you're right. That's what's funny is this is what I didn't like about what's the guy you keep quoting?
Byron Sharp.
So Byron Sharp said you don't need to measure everything.
Right.
I agree with that emphatically.
Yeah.
Here's my beef with it. I'm supposed to say that as the guy measuring. You're not supposed to say that as the people giving us the data. Right. Do you know what I mean? It's like the lunch lady saying you don't need all nutrients. It's like, look, lady, I'm going to decide when and where I choose to skimp on my fruits and veggies. But the minute they start withholding my vegetables from me, letting me know like, you'll be fine. Scurvy's not a real thing. That's when it gets a little perilous here.
Right. So to your point, I guess you can cure scurvy. Like if you have scurvy, you eat an orange and you get better immediately. I've never had scurvy.
I haven't either, but that's what I've heard too. An orange.
That's what I've heard. So that's why, the English sailors are called limeys because they ate limes and all this other sort of stuff. But they got micro. Yeah, that's why.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why English people are called limeys.
Huh.
There's another lookup.
That actually takes all the sting out of that pejorative.
It really does. It's horrible, isn't it? Yeah, because it actually makes sense. So, but anyway, so I assume you stave off scurvy. And stay with me on this wacky analogy. You stave off scurvy by having a lime a day, as opposed to getting scurvy and then eating lots of limes and trying to cure your problem.
That's true, but here's this guy, Mr. Sharp, saying you don't need all that. Like, don't worry about the limes before or after. It doesn't matter.
I'm going for a different point here.
Okay.
He actually says, and I agree with him on this, is that you do not need, and this is the first time I've ever heard this phrase, by the way. This is a quotable phrase. You do not need a tentpole moment. Do you know what when it comes to brand? We're talking about brand.
I guess that a tentpole moment is like that event horizon, right? Like where you say, "Oh, this is working."
No, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was either. I'm like, we're looking at each other like tentpole moment, and then they explained it. It's like the big splashy ad on the Super Bowl to create brand, which I don't know what it. So it's a tentpole moment to create brand. Going back to my original point, this whole branding thing is a longer game, which you have to sort of build in, and it's lots of, and this is in Sir Byron's words, lots of micro moments, just over time that build. It's like
that's perfectly sound to me. That makes all the sense in the world. That's I think. I mean, that's wise counsel for sure.
It's wise counsel because people want the tentpole moment. This is what they're trying to do. Is when you think of brand, you think of, oh, I have to spend however much on a Super Bowl ad. Like, I don't even know what a Super Bowl ad goes for these days. Yeah, and I'm sure it used to be 8 million. It's 7 million now. Yeah, it's 7 million now for a 30-second spot. When people think about brand, they're like, oh, I got to make this huge splash, a tentpole moment. When Byron says, no, it's all about just incrementality, small wins all along the way. It's like micro, he didn't say micro commitments, but it was micro interactions. It's like, oh, I see a Wendy's ad kind of halfway sort of over here. And then I'm in my car and I see a billboard and I don't really look at it. And then I hear like the tail end of a commercial when I'm watching sports or whatever it happens to be. And then I see it when I'm reading the newspaper on USA Today on my iPad. He's like, all of those things, those are not tentpole moments. Brand is all about just little steps, tiny little things, and don't expect people to watch the full 30-second ad because according to him, and that's why his talk was really funny, he's like, most advertisers are really boring. He's like, here's the guy who wrote the book on this. He's like, it's not worth it. It's like when I watch football on Sundays, I record the Patriots absolutely suck right now. But anyway, so I should probably watch the commercials and not the game, actually, when it comes to them right now, because they're so horrible. But I will.
More scoring in the commercials.
There's more scoring in the commercials, absolutely. So I'll watch but I'll see like the ad. If I see a cool ad, I'll stop and I'll watch the ad. He's absolutely right. It's like a boring ad I'm not going to watch. But I'll watch all the new anything with like Travis Kelce in it right now. He's like the thing. Obviously, he's dating Taylor Swift, but like he's funny. I think he's actually funny, and I'm a Patriots fan, and I hate the Chiefs. But point is I know this is all like just gobbledygook.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was just
like
you
don't even know what this is. But the point is so I'll watch that because it's entertaining. He said the same thing. It's like, don't expect everybody to love your stuff, but if you put enough of it out there, you will start to build brand. So you don't even need to be a great. He said you don't even need to be a great advertiser. You just need to kind of just start doing it and getting in front of people. Obviously, video is where Meta is really aiming here in doing that. And what we have seen, and here's a little tidbit for people, is that what we've found is the ads and the campaigns and the target audiences that work well with your website conversion campaigns, just put them in a consideration or an awareness campaign with small budget. The same ads, the same content, same creative, same audiences, okay? And start doing it that way at low levels of spend, because that way you've dialed in your messaging to a certain degree, okay? You're going with a different objective, maybe a traffic objective, video view objective, brand awareness objective, reach objective, whichever you choose. But then you're using what your best performing stuff is to get those tiny little micro commitments, those tiny little micro exposures, as opposed to just going, spending $7-8 million on a Super Bowl ad to create brand because you listened to one Perpetual Traffic episode. Does that make sense?
So I'm gonna repeat what I think Meta's telling us. And you tell me how good I'm doing here, Ralph. Okay. Meta's saying you don't need performance or trackable performance. You don't need to be able to measure everything. You don't need people to even really watch the whole video. And you don't need to be good at this. All you need to do is start spending money with us and continue to spend money with us. And you will see on a long enough timeline, but longer than we can measure, results.
Exactly.
This is a good summit. The fact, dude, what they're selling, if people are buying it, like, good for them. I should buy stock.
I know. Yeah. See, this is going to get all the people that are like, of course they're saying that.
Yeah.
Because they're Meta and they want you to spend more money. Well, that's what I thought too, until we started actually doing it and seeing the results.
Well, no, I believe it works.
That's all I'm saying.
I believe it works. And I've seen the case studies that you've presented, and I think there's a very sound point behind brand building through Meta. it's just so hard for me to trust them, man. The recommended approach. It's my own fault, Ralph. I've been abused.
I know.
Yeah, I'm a Google guy. I've been lied to every second of my professional career by one of the most valuable brands in the whole world. And with all due respect, if I were at a party and a wallet went missing, and the two suspects were Sergey and Zuck, dude, my money is 100%. You know what I'm saying, Ralph? Like, come on. So,
that's what makes this show fun. You're so skeptical, which is fine.
Yeah.
And you should be. And I
go watching on YouTube. Ralph is actually looking for podcast co-host right now. He's like replacement for
Kasim. Google. Oh, Lauren Petrillo. Wow,
look at that.
Amazing.
Should be a good one.
We've been cultivating her for some time. Your replacement is just you're coaching her to become your replacement.
That's exactly right.
Oh my God. We do need more Lauren Petrillo on the show, by the way. Anyway, so all right, so that's the frame. All right, so I can tell you're picking up what I'm laying down here. There's no question about it. Like, you started off a little sluggish. Now you're a convert.
Now I'm there. Now I'm sold. Yeah.
You're there.
Why wouldn't I write them a blank check and just be like, yeah, guys, I'm a believer. Let's brand things.
Preferably with like 9 zeros. Write that check. Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, so that's sort of the big frame, and with some data here, a little bit light, I would say,
a little light on the facts, but gosh, light on the facts, fly with enthusiasm.
But man, does it work! So the next step, we talked about a lot of AI stuff. There's this AI Sandbox which is coming, which they've been talking about for quite some time. Text variation of ad copy, background segmentation, which is like fill in the background. I have not seen this in every ad account yet. We've seen it in a couple of ad accounts. Like, you can vary text based upon the best text that's working for your ad with AI auto generates it, which is kind of cool. And so completely flipping the script here from brand over to like, hey, we're an AI company, because they actually are an AI company. And I'm sticking to it. Image expansion, like let's say you have a square image expansion now will allow you to make that into a 9:16, which is obviously perfect for reels, because there's 300 billion reel plays every single day, Kasim, depending on how you measure it. A lot of people are on reels, a lot of inventory. I know you're buying this. You're going to become a meta advertiser like today. You're just going to start.
How much are they paying you, Ralph?
You're just going to start spending money. I'm just the reporter here. I'm the press. Yeah. Once I was like at a dinner conference, and they're like, "Oh, we can't say that to you because you're the press." I thought that was so funny. I'm like,
we need press passes.
You need press passes. Like, I'm the press. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. This is the thing that you have to take away as a Google advertiser. Is so important for you, but forget all you Google advertisers. Because, well, actually, I shouldn't say this. Maybe this is just as important because of. And maybe this is the reason why you're not so happy with Google Performance Max these days, is that creative is the new targeting. Underline, underscore, full stop. What do you say? Full stop, period. What is it? Yeah, ubiquitous truth. I'm going to use a couple of Kasims here. It's a ubiquitous truth.
Ubiquitous truth. I didn't realize I say that often. Now I'm embarrassed. Yeah, I like creative.
I say at the end of the day a lot, apparently, according to my kids. So, creative is the new targeting. It totally is. It does create. It's the biggest thing that we see. Like, once we clean up the account, use some account hygiene. We've talked about that in a couple of shows here. We'll leave links in the show notes to that. The next biggest thing is the creative, because it's the creative. It's the biggest cog in the machinery now for us. It's the largest part of our staff by far.
Well, it's one of the only levers we have left that's completely our own.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
When targeting goes away, creative has to be the targeting. So I'd agree with that entirely.
So background generation, which is actually really cool. If you're using DPA ads on Facebook, this background generation thing, you can basically take your product and then change all the different backgrounds on it. AI generated. Super cool. Like, they did a demo of it. Text variation, we just talked about that. Image expansion, we talked about that as well. AI is an assistant to human creativity. Kasim. It is not a replacement. This is
say that now.
Say that now. So
the company that just branded themselves an AI company.
That's right. Well, they branded themselves a metaverse company. Come on, which is, I guess, powered by AI. So yeah. So speaking of that, there's the Meta Ray-Ban collection, the Ray-Ban Meta collection. Have you seen that? No, this is coming. This is their new virtual reality. Like, it's going to replace all the clunky kind of Quest 2 technology. It'll have like a Hey Meta on it as opposed to Hey Siri. Whoops, I just said it. Now my phone.
Siri, order 9,000 AA batteries.
I turned it off just in case.
Just in time.
Just in time. Actually muting Siri. So that is actually kind of cool. So there's a new thing to watch out for. They looked really cool. So Ray-Bans, Hey Meta, virtual reality glasses, kind of cool. And let's see, getting into some... One of the big things that they talked about as well, and another one that we've been the recipients of many pitches from Meta on, is Advantage Plus campaigns. Or now they're calling A Plus because it just sounds cooler. Advantage Plus shopping is one of the ones right now that is very, very similar to Google Performance Max. Our media buyers have tried it with various levels of success. What they did say is that we're probably not putting in enough creative. Like the ones where we put in more creative, not 10 to 20 creative, but 50 to 70 creatives. That is also in an agency group that I was speaking with at Meta. They said that's actually the key right now with Advantage Plus shopping, which means more power, more emphasis on creator content. Guess what? Where is most of that inventory going when you create 9x16 video? Duh. Going to Reels. 300 billion views every single day. Kasim, there's a lot of inventory over there trying to sell the inventory. So, which makes sense. I get it. And we've really seen a huge lift when we do separate stuff out and put, Reels campaigns together with, other placement campaigns to supplement, to make sure that we're getting exposure on Reels, which I think is pretty cool. So when you are doing that, when you run Reels, all right, here we go. Here's another stat for you. When you run Reels, you get a 90% increase or likelihood of purchase for your product. 90%. And 97% increase in add to carts. And a 4.54 ROAS increase. Increase. When you run Reels, 90% likelihood of purchase is increased, 90% increase, 97% increase in add to carts, 4.5 ROAS increase, 4.5 ROAS increase.
So if I'm getting a 3x ROAS,
then
I'll have a 7.5x ROAS.
I think this is in real terms. Yeah, so 7.54 as opposed to what would that be? 13.5 ROAS, like multiplied. You're saying just adding it on to whatever you're getting. Add the 4.5. Not sure there. The point is if you're not doing Reels, you're missing out. Even if the stats are a little bit light on the details.
Dude, 90%. That's a bold.
It's bold. It's a big
call.
Like
we could test that today and just know. We have enough clients between the two of us.
I say you just start running Reels just for everybody, just to see how many you get, whatever. But they don't give them any statistics on how to measure it. So, so that was a big portion of that. There's a huge portion on bidding, which I won't get into. We've done plenty of shows on that. One of the better speakers was, and somebody I would love to get on the show, is this guy, Matt McKim. He's the director of Global Business Group Data. He's one of the data science guys at Meta. He was super sharp.
Dude, I'd love to get him on the show.
Yeah,
I would love to just pepper him with methodology questions, and I'm sure I won't be invited to that one.
No, you'll be there. You'll be there. So according to Meta, there's an 18% increase in 18% increase in conversions when you mix brand and conversion campaigns together. And we have tested this empirically, and I would say that's actually on the low end.
Yeah, I believe that entirely. I think that adding brand it's the rising tides effect. And what we call it conversion lift.
Now, they're looking at this in their Meta silo. If I spread it out into, and this is what this case study is going to be about, which I'm building up a lot here, is what we saw is that it just drove more brand name Google searches, which are lower cost per click. Anyway, as opposed to like what the Meta ads did from 7 to 70,000 in spend, it lowered the cost of conversions on Google, like a tremendous correlation. It's really killer. Like this is where the two things start to merge together. They're looking at it like, all right, 18% increase in conversions when you mix brand and conversion. But what about your other platforms? They don't mention any of that. That's what we're seeing because we're multi-platform, right? It stands to reason. Your organic search is going to go up. Okay. That's why you need a tool like Wicked Reports, like Northbeam. For us, we use a combination of Wicked, a third party, which we're not going to talk about here because it's a secret sauce, and Google Analytics 4, mix them all together. And we see this. That's actually a very cool stat. So, that's, but I think probably the biggest takeaway is if you start to just do this sort of on a lower level and then increase over time, you can start to see some lift. It's not going to happen immediately, but look at all your channels, not just singular channel. You can't be as a marketer looking at one channel right now in 2023. For anybody who's listening to the show, it's like if you're just looking at one channel and that's it. No, you got to look at all of them together. How do they? It is an ecosystem. It is not siloed. Okay. And we see this too, because we work with a lot of your Google customers and obviously on the Facebook side, probably more to be coming. The point is like when we have this view of the world, which is your entire marketing mix, you can notice these differences. And this is what we're now seeing when we add in this brand and sort of middle of funnel conversion element to it. It not only enhances the effectiveness of that platform, but the other platforms that we're also running traffic and the organic stuff as well, which is all these other side benefits. So reason why we're talking about it here on today's show. So, Matt McKim was really, really good. Really liked him a lot. One of the things that, and we'll end the show with this, is that one of the new tools that's coming out allows you to, in essence, spend more money in certain cohorts of a audience. So it matches the return. What do I mean by that? Okay, let's say you have a lookalike audience of 3 million people and age ranges are 18 to 65 plus. Well, there's a new type of campaign that's coming out right now. We don't have it in any of our campaigns. It's called Advantage Plus campaigns, where the Advantage Plus campaigns will allocate more spend to different segments of or different cohorts of that audience to more closely match reach, impressions, and dollars spent through advertising based upon return. Now, you would think they're kind of doing this anyway, through AI and through the algorithm, but this new campaign model laser focuses in on that. And that's one of the reasons why I love to have this guy on the show, because he would talk about it a little bit more in depth. It was one of the coolest things that myself and our customers sort of looked at each other like, whoa, that's badass.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff certainly to be coming on down the line here. So that is the summary of the Meta Brand Summit. And I know, Kasim, now you are going to be a tried and true.
I'm such a believer.
I'm going to send
While
you
we've been talking, I bought a t-shirt and a hat.
Well, I was going to send it to you,
Yeah, Team Zuck.
Team Zuck. Yeah. Big Z on the front. The hat, like a Metaverse. I'm going to send you a couple of the new Ray-Ban Meta sunglasses. Like, dude, you are just going to become a meta dude after today's episode. I can feel you've been converted. You've been converted to the House of Zuck. So anyway, hopefully today's episode is helpful for you. Start thinking about all this. You don't necessarily need to switch your entire strategy overnight. Increment by increment, little win by little win. You don't need to do the tentpole event. You can do just the little wins all along the way. Just like our friend Byron Sharp told us coming out of the Brand Building Summit. So we will leave lots of links. Apparently, we've got lots of links from today. And make sure that you do check us out over on all of our socials. Leave a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me, obviously, on LinkedIn and Kasim at Kasim Aslam on every social media known to mankind. Check out our YouTube channel at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. Also, check out our sister podcast, the Customer Acquisition Show, which is getting quite big right now, Kasim. It's not hosted by us, probably better co-hosts, but you can check that out over at tier11.com or just search for it in any of the podcast apps, wherever you listen to podcasts. All resources and show notes will be over at perpetualtraffic.com. On behalf of my awesome converted to meta co-host, Kasim Aslam.
Peace.
Until next show, see ya.